This is the Barbados Today afternoon news for Friday, February 2nd. Thank you for joining us. I am Mary Claire Williams. Our top story this afternoon, Finance Minister Chris Sinckler says the governor of the central bank did not deliver all bad news on the state of the economy this week. Governor Cleviston Haynes presented his review of the island's economic performance for 2017 on Wednesday, and he noted that the economy continued to face significant challenges associated with declining international reserves and weak public finances. Haynes also noted the need for measures to create sustainable growth in the medium term. But speaking to Barbados Today on his way to Parliament this morning, Sinckler said there were some positives in the document.
In the season where people look for all the negatives about what is happening in terms of the economy. But there are some positives in that report that are not being highlighted. Yes, we have a foreign exchange problem. We know that in terms of the reserves. We've said that. Nobody has hidden that. We had put some contingency plans in place, some of which were dependent on asset sales, which, as you know, have been delayed. Right. The Hilton, we are proceeding with that. Hopefully that will be completed very soon. But the BNTCL is subject to regulatory control. You can't do as you like in this environment. Still a democratic society. The FTC makes rulings, and until they are satisfied that all of the standards which they establish are met, whether or not we agree with the decision or not, we have to look at what they are saying and do that. So that has delayed the situation. The Hyatt was supposed to be started by now, but as you know, was delayed by a court decision. In terms of the length of time it took the Honorable Justice to return, and the court is the court. You can't argue with the court in that regard because that's not the only thing they're doing. They're doing other cases as well. But it took a length of time, and then when it came back, the decision, I myself haven't read it, I'm a little puzzled about it, but the decision is the decision.
South Coast residents already grappling with the ongoing sewage spill are now facing another health challenge. Acting Chief Medical Officer Dr. Kenneth George says there is now a mosquito control problem in the area. He told Barbados Today this is due mainly to the sewage overflows and recent heavy rains.
We have a mosquito control problem in that catchment. I think it is due to many reasons. The additional rainfall, the village of sewage, the not steel runoff in certain areas, and there has been accumulation of water in that area. In addition, the swamp of Barbados, the Greenhouse swamp, has some challenges. There's a lot of bush going around the periphery, particularly at some aspects of the swamp, and the mosquito levels are very, very high. So we are going to be doing two things. We are doing daily fogging. We stepped up from twice to 3 times weekly fogging to daily fogging. And then secondly, we're doing our larvicidal distribution. But thirdly, we are going to deploy some of the persons in the debushing program to the swamp to try to see if they could reduce some of the brush on the growth in areas where we feel mosquitoes are breeding.
A minibus driver and conductor are nursing injuries following an accident on Walker's Road, St. George last night. The minibus was driven by 36-year-old Kelvin Rudder of Ellerton, St. George, and was accompanied by the conductor, Jenny Nurse of Melverton, St. George, as well as a 33-year-old male passenger. The minibus was traveling along Walker's when Rudder lost control. The bus flipped on the right side, trapping him. He was freed by fire officers with serious injuries to his hands. Nurse, meanwhile, complained of pain to her elbow, while the passenger did not complain of any injuries. Rudder and Nurse were taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital by ambulance. 2 fire tenders and 6 fire officers under the command of leading fire officer Williams responded to the accident.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
Thank you for staying with us. We're back with news from the region. The opposition St. Lucia Labour Party is criticizing the Alan Chasney administration's move to increase the number of government representatives on the board of the electricity company. Chasney made the announcement earlier this week. We get the details in this report from HDS News Force.
Prime Minister Alan Chasney on Tuesday stated that the combined sale of shareholdings now gives the NIC majority shareholder status, allowing them 2 representatives on the board of directors. The government leader speaking to the media suggested that this would provide more leverage in shaping Lucilec's agenda. But to opposition leader Philip J. Pierre, the notion is
ludicrous. There's a body that deals with electricity prices. It's called the National Regulatory Commission. These are the ones that deal with electricity prices. But it's more sinister. What I hope doesn't happen is the government causes direct political interference at Lucileg. Lucileg is one of the best run companies in the region. And when the Prime Minister can boast that he has his directors in there, because he ostensibly to reduce the price of electricity, which he knows he cannot do, because reducing the price of electricity is based on many factors.
Pierre also claims that the CCC, by selling its shares, is, quote, jeopardizing future savings for short-term use, end quote.
And finally, on the international scene, an enraged father of 3 daughters who were sexually abused by the former USA Gymnastics national team doctor Larry Nassar lunged at him in court this morning during a sentencing hearing in Michigan. It happened after 2 of the sisters finished reading their victim's statement. Court guards pinned down the man to the ground before he could attack Nassar. Here's what happened in the courtroom.
I really feel that my entire family has gone through hell and back these last few months because of what Larry Nassar did to both of my sisters and I years ago. I have known Larry Nassar for most of my life. He once was someone I had always trusted.
I would ask you to, as part of this sentencing, to grant me 5 minutes in a locked room with this demon.
I have
would you do that?
That is not how
yes
our...
or no?
No, sir, I can't.
Would you give me
that.
1 minute?
You know that I can't do that. That's not how our legal system...
Well, I'm going to have to get stuff Stay down. Stay down. Let me have it, son of a... I want that. I want that stuff. Behind your back. Give me 1 minute with that. Go ahead. You're good. What if this happened to you guys?
Not behave like that. No one can behave like this. I want to make sure it's crystal clear. I'm sure Judge Chris.
You haven't lived through it, lady.
You cannot behave like this. This is letting him have this power over us, okay? She will come out and tell you this. I don't want to see another parent get arrested or put handcuffs on or a victim. We cannot behave like this.
And that's news this afternoon. Remember, you can get more on our website, www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook. We're on Izumi Media in bus terminals and on Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also find us on Mix 96.9 FM. I am Mary Claire Williams. Good afternoon.